Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and we're going to follow up. Now we have to follow up on a story that we started talking about last weekend. And to be honest with you, I didn't think this was going to blow up in the way it blew up. It has to do with the new textbooks that the Mexican government has published and will be kind of giving out for the next we'll be sending it to all the public schools around the country in the next couple of weeks, so that when children go back to school at the end of August, they're going to have the new textbooks. The problem is, as today's guest warned us last week, there's a lot of big mistakes, huge mistakes. And there's also a lot of controversy surrounding some of the political positions taken. Some of the historical facts also are wrong, but some of the historical facts that are highlighted in different books. Anyway, joining us once again is Marco Fernandez. He's from the Tec de Monterrey. Marco, I really appreciate you joining us last week. Please give us a follow-up. What happened this week? This whole thing is a disaster. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ana Maria. Undoubtedly, we have been witnessing how the evidence of the several mistakes and really controversial content of the textbooks has been multiplying, has been addressed by several people that have been revisiting all the textbooks, and more mistakes, more examples that increase the worry of the heavily charged ideologically content of these textbooks has been going on. And in this sense, I mean, what is really not surprising, but at the same time really disappointing, is the reaction so far of the government that basically has been discrediting their critics, saying that they are just a bunch of fifis, conservatives, or neoliberals that are trying to stop the real transformation of the education system in Mexico without really answering punctually on these several examples of mistakes, how in their view are not mistakes, how they are having a pedagogical coherence, and there is a logic on how it's going to improve during the school year the learning process of their students. I mean, not at all that has happened. And on the other side, given the polarization that we have seen in Mexico, there are others that go to the stream saying, well, this is an attempt to spread once again communism. In Mexico. So those two extreme positions really do not help to address the several educational problems that the textbook have.
You know, I agree with you. The response from both sides have been, especially from the government, but even from those who are opposing these books. I mean, there was some group out there calling on burning the books, which is just the image of this idea that, you know, we're going to have book burning in Mexico in 2023. I think is just outrageous. I do think there's some, you know, there's a problem with the ideology that they promote in the books. But I think most public schools textbooks have a certain injection of ideology, whether we like it or not. The problem is there's just really basic mistakes, starting with one example is they couldn't even get Benito Juarez, the national hero. They couldn't get his birth date right, even though it's a holiday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised that even that kind of mistake was done, because precisely the president claims to be himself a big admirer of Benito Juarez. So I assume that the Marx Arriaga, the guy from the education ministry in charge of this, would at least be paying attention to these kind of topics, so there would not be such an embarrassment for the government in this basic mistake.
How bad are the mistakes? I mean, you know, every day for the last 4 or 5 days in every network, they're talking about different mistakes. And some are more outrageous than others. Which of the mistakes have you focused on the most, which I think are most outrageous and most harmful for children?
Well, the thing is that, for example, in the first year textbook, First, the paragraphs are long.
Very long.
And that assumes that the kids already know how to read fluently, something that is a nonsense because in the first year of primary school, you are beginning to learn how to read. Then there is this story of Gabby and her grandma that go to the doctor. Basically, they are diagnosed with COVID. And then Gabby says, well, they give us some medical treatment, but my grandma remind me what the importance of drinking all these herbal teas, and it goes with a long list of teas, and it says, oh, how fortunate we are, both of us. And I read the paragraphs. Okay, I mean, first of all, if it's with the grandma, haven't we forgotten the importance of monitoring the oxygen levels to avoid any complication, or the importance of insulating when you are precisely
isolating, or self-prescription, and using traditional medicinal solutions, which I'm not against it. It's tea. But
the fundamentals of knowledge should be science.
Right.
Okay. So that is one example. Or there is another one that it's very worrisome, and I have to share with you in the screen. This, for those that are following us, is an example of the textbook targeted to teachers in the high school. Tell me,
what does this mean?
It says, okay, the social tree.
It's called the social tree, yes. Exactly. And on the top, you have, on the branches and on the leaves, it has the words ideology or culture, right? And then the trunk, it says politics, right? The trunk that goes up towards the branches and the leaves. And the roots, it says the word economy. I have no idea what they're talking about.
I don't have either any idea. And I do not understand how precisely this book that is targeted toward secondary school teachers is going to help them to improve their pedagogical skills, so the learning process of the students is going to improve in the classroom.
Let me ask you one last question, because we're running out of time. The president announced that there's going to be a daily press conference in the afternoon, 2 hours, whatever it takes, so that they're going to review each textbook for each school level. And there's going to be experts there explaining the textbooks and explaining the knowledge, which I'm hoping that they're going to record it, because this is going to be very important for teachers and parents to understand what these textbooks are going to do. Is that going to solve the problem? I mean, are these textbooks just bound to be used this year, no matter what the court says or what parents say?
Well, according to the government, so far, they are saying no matter what, we're going to use these textbooks.
Right.
I don't see so far any kind of common sense or humbleness to say, okay, yes, it's true. There are several mistakes on these textbooks, and we are designing this strategy to correct those mistakes. I don't see anywhere in the discourse of the president or in the words of the education minister that they are exploring something like that. I don't see it. So what's going to happen? On the one hand, there are some states that are going to take advantage of the regional content that, according to the educational law, allows them to have on those textbooks. So they're going to be focusing on what it really matters, that is reading comprehension and math. Others, particularly those that have this twisted view that they have to have partisan loyalty, they're not going to dare to challenge the federal government, and basically are said, well, like it or not, use those textbooks. Then at the school level, what we're going to see in the public schools, some teachers that are going to be very entrepreneur, using the material of the previous textbooks to use the examples, and on the one hand, pretend that they are going with a the new textbooks, but in reality, using this material to carry on their lessons. There are others that are going to embrace the textbooks because are more ideological, in good terms with this government. And in the case of the private schools, we know that they're just going to once again simulate. They're going to be pretending that they are also covering the material of the textbooks, but in reality, their main educational sources for textbooks are going to be the own material that they use in the traditional school year. And at the end of the day, as a result of this cacophony that is going to be taking place, the education inequalities, the gaps that already are worrisome, unfortunately, are going to deepen in Mexico. I don't listen to you. I think that you are.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Now, I'm sorry. I really appreciate you joining us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us once again to follow up on this story, which became the crisis that you predicted it was going to be. I mean, we didn't even go into the fact that they barely teach math in these books, but that we will talk about that during another time. Thank you so much, Marco Fernandez from the Tec de Monterrey, for following up on this story with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, as always, for the opportunity.
Thank you. We're going to go to commercial break. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. You're listening and watching Living in Mexico. Don't go away. I'll be right back.